I'm Mel Robbins. I'm here with my friends and colleagues, Lynn and Amy, and we are talking about just going through these seasons of change. It's a huge drop off, back to school, new job kind of season as we're recording this right now. But this is a topic that is pertinent any moment in your life. And I didn't realize how deep this was going to go. Because I thought we were just going to talk about tips for college drop-off.
Yeah.
But it's like or back to school anxiety. And now I'm like, I never went home after I went to college. Stirring up all this shit about not living close to my parents and I miss them. And you just asked me, would I handle it differently? First, I have a confession. I secretly hope Kendall doesn't end up in LA. And I notice I'm a bit of an asshole. And anytime she does any kind of griping about the LA scene, I'm like, yeah, you really are just like an East Coast person. And I realize that I am doing this because I desperately want her to move back to the East Coast.
You're allowed to do that, I think.
And
That's
she was saying that, when her friends said goodbye this weekend, they were here for her birthday and a bunch of them were moving to New York. She got really sad and was like, I wish I was going to be in New York with all of them. And I'm like, eventually you will. You could live in LA for a year and then, move back.
Yeah.
So I'm being an asshole because I'm starting to plant that stuff. So I got to stop doing that. I could absolutely have a ball moving her in. I would get very teary when I said goodbye.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is because instead of holding the confidence that this is going to be one of the best years of your life and you're about to do the thing that you've been wanting to do forever, and I can't wait to see what you produce this year in terms of your music career, I think about like all the shit that impacts me. God, I'm getting older. Wow, these kids are, sprouting their wings.
Yeah.
Wow, like time's flying. Holy cow. How did this, I start going there and get very self-reflective, and I'm going to use what we've talked about today to stay in the space because I have a choice. I don't have to torture myself. I don't have to make everything so deep. That's what Kendall always says to me. Not everything's that deep, Mom. Just because you're moving me into an apartment doesn't mean you need to get that deep.
Yeah.
You could just stand in confidence and go get them.
Yeah.
Good luck paying your bills because this is it. This is the moment we've been waiting for. And I think what you both have said about sort of flip the switch, know your role in that moment.
Yeah.
Don't let it get too deep. Be confident about what's about to happen for them and exude it so that they can borrow it from you.
Yes.
Yeah.
That fucking helps me. Thank you. Does anything else come up for you guys in terms of those moments? And then I'm going to share one story quickly that is super important that I think everyone will get a lot of value out of.
I had something come up, but I totally forgot what it was.
Yeah, I just think that, what you just said is great. And you might get emotional, but that's okay. You can get emotional with them and tell them you've got this, this is what you want, and really ask them questions because maybe she does want to go to New York, but maybe she doesn't, right? And
she does. She talks about
she does want to go.
Come on.
But awesome. I think, it's that would be music to your ears if she wanted to change her mind, but you don't want her to give up on her dream either. So it's really being the voice to ask those probing questions, even when we might want something, and it's really up to us to say, well, what would your path look like? And just make sure that they are making the decision not to please us, because I could get really comfortable with that. I could totally lead that.
You're okay with causing that much guilt trip for people, right?
I could. But would I be serving my kids and their futures? No, I wouldn't. So,
you know what else this makes me think of is those phone calls I got from our daughters when they were first at school, sitting alone, crying. And I'll tell you what really helped is this idea of narrowing their focus. Acknowledge that it's hard. Say you're not the only one, but you got to narrow their focus. Let me tell you what I mean by that. My friend Carrie Lorenz, who's the first female F-14 fighter pilot, wrote a book called Span of Control. And in an emergency situation, there are only 3 dials that matter in a fighter jet. That's it. And you got to narrow your focus so that you can gain control. And so if you are going to get that teary phone call, I don't think I can do this. Somebody's crying from the bathroom stall at a new job. Or, after a big sports practice at a new team that one of your kids has made, they're like really upset. I don't think I can narrow their focus. What can you do in the next hour? What can you do in the next hour? What could you focus on? Because part of what happens, I think, in these moments of change, whether you're at a new job or you're sitting in your dorm room alone, is you're like, I don't know what to do. I'm in a new neighborhood. What do? I feel like a dork. I feel like the only one. I don't know anybody at work. I don't know what people are talking about. You have to get out of your office. You have to get out of your cubicle. You have to get out of your room, and you have to force yourself to start walking around and talking to people. That'll make you feel better. It's the same thing when we moved here. Like, I wasn't going to meet anybody if I sat in my house and cried. I had to get to the coffee shop. I had to push myself out of that freeze mode and through my discomfort and keep reminding myself, Mel, this feeling is normal. You're going through a big change. It's going to pass, but bitch, you got to do something about it. Like, you want friends, you get your butt out there. And the same is true with you, and the same is true with the people you love. Another thing that's really helpful is that if somebody is overwhelmed by going through change, a lot of times the response to it is to freeze. As you've been learning in a lot of episodes, freezing and procrastinating is a kind of anxiety or even a trauma response to something very overwhelming. And change is always overwhelming. It's just part of the duality of it. We were learning this today. Is coach the people in your life to put some things in their calendar. Take a look at what's going on this week. What could you plan to do? Who could you reach out to that you've met in the DMs and set up a lunch? Who could you ask to go to the cafeteria with you? Those sort of breadcrumbing of dates with people or things to do or sign up for this event so that when you look at your calendar, you see forward motion. Yeah. I got a call from a gal that I consider to be like one of my daughters. You know who you are. And she had pulled over on the side of a road and was calling me because she was having a panic attack. And I asked her, okay, well, tell me, first of all, tell me, what do you see around you? So I used that grounding technique where you go, tell me one thing that you can see. Tell me, something that you can hear right now. And then we started breathing together, and I told her to put her hand on her heart. And so we helped her drop into the moment and really ground into her body. And the dogs are barking right now. It's okay. We're going to just keep on rolling because this is one of those hot on the mic kind of episodes. We started talking, and she was explaining all the stuff that was going on. She had just graduated. The job that she was starting had been delayed. The family has just moved. Mom has a big job. Her grandfather's sick. And what I said to her was this. I said, the fact that you're upset and kind of panicking right now tells me that you're mentally healthy. Because anybody going through this level of change and that much transition, you should feel completely turned around. And so the fact that this is bothering you tells me you're well.
Yeah.
And I also want to remind you that it's temporary. And the most important thing that you could do is to remind yourself this is temporary. The fact that I'm bothered by all of this change and I'm upset about it and I feel out of sorts is a sign that I'm doing well, because I should feel out of sorts. I'm in a new environment. There's a lot of change going on. And the same is true when you move back to school or you start a new grade or you start that new job. It's a sign that you're mentally well if you're turned upside down, because everything is new. And your body needs time to process the new environment and the new rhythm and the new people around you and the new space that you're living or working in and the new commute and the new everything. And it's really a good sign that even though you're excited, you're nervous and you feel activated. That's because there's so much new stuff for you to learn and absorb right now. And so if you can remind yourself that it's temporary, and if you can take a deep breath and tell yourself that the fact that I'm upset about this change doesn't mean that it's going to be bad. It just means I'm going through change. This is my process. And I want to personally say to you two, thank you, because when I am not dropping off Kendall, but metaphorically, I'm going to think when I say goodbye to her on Sunday night and she and Chris drive down, I'm going to put my hands on her beautiful cheeks and I'm going to look her straight in the eye and I'm going to say, I know that this is going to be hard, but it's only going to be hard for a little bit. And I believe in you. And remember, this is how you do change. It sucks for 2 weeks. Just get into a good rhythm. And before you know it, you're going to be better than you ever imagined. I love you. Go get them. And then I'm going to turn around. I'm going to pull my shoulders back and I'm going to stomp away from her like I meant it, because I do. And as soon as I turn the corner, I will collapse and hug one of the dogs and start crying because she's leaving.
Sounds right. That sounds right.
And that's how we do change here on the Mel Robbins podcast.
That's right.
I love it.
Like some fucking powerful bitches.
Yeah.
That's how we do it.
Fantastic.
My biggest takeaway today is just this idea of being a surrogate of confidence for somebody else. Just because somebody that you love is upset, you don't have to cry with them. In fact, it's better if you just acknowledge that this is hard and then say, now pull up your big girl panties and get your ass out there and go make some friends. Drum roll, please. Drop off. College, drop off. It is the season of saying goodbye, of saying hello to new chapters, of dropping people off. This is an episode and a conversation for you, whether or not